young, energetic, young ladies that was into everything that was going on basically in our high school and talent shows, beauty pageants. We were cheerleaders, so our writing skills. Oh, it did it again. Uh,
I'm still here. I'm still here.
okay, I thought it went out. And so, please excuse me. And so we got into uh, writing songs from writing cheers and put the group together. We were with other girls before Angie and I were with other girls before Blondie came in, but we all hung out together. So she became the third person into the group, and we started rehearsing at my grandmother's house and waiting for something to come through South Carolina. I think Earth, Wind and Fire, one of those groups came before the Sugar Hill Gang came to Columbia. And, it's the same thing, give out cassettes and that, but we were like, we want somebody to actually see us perform. And so the Sugar Hill Gang was coming to Columbia, South Carolina. We all, we practiced and we went to the concert. In fact, the concert was on Blondie's birthday, which was October the 20th, 1979. And we got to the Township Auditorium, and they told us that we didn't have backstage passes, so they couldn't let us in. And we was like, yo, we're supposed to have passes. And we're standing there, and we, arguing, telling the man, look again. And so Harold Miles, God bless his soul, was the Sugar Hill Gang road manager. And he got us in. He started playing around with Angie, so we had a little liking for him. So he said, come on, I'm going to get you in. She said, no, you got to get all three of us in. And he said, all right, y'all, come on. So he got us all in. And we was telling him that we could beat those guys rapping. And he said, well, I'm going to take y'all to somebody who will listen to y'all. Which he took us to a guy named Nate Edmond first. And Nate said, in the cassette, and was like, nah, you got to hear us. But he didn't have time to really hear us because he was a part of the band that was getting ready to go hit the stage with the Sugar Hill Gang. So Miss Robinson, Sylvia Robinson, who did the song Pillow Talk and has a lot of amazing work up under her belt. She was there, and she was sitting in a corner, and she had on a pair of blue jeans, a Sugar Hill T-shirt and jacket, and a black hat over, a little cap over her head. And so we didn't ask who she was. We just like, we could beat those guys rapping. And she said, oh, y'all rap? We said, yes, ma'am. And so it went from us singing our songs, a couple of songs we sung, it didn't really get her. And as we were walking out, I don't know which one of us said, I think I said it, you didn't hear Funk You Up. And she said, come back in and do it. And so we started singing that. The hook of the song was on Funk You right on up, we're gonna funk you right on up. Say, get up, 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 get up. Sit right now. And she said, y'all said y'all rap. And I was like, yes, ma'am. So she told Blondie to rap. My name is Gwen, but they call me Blondie. Better known as the one and only. I'm 5'2", built so fine, 36 1, 36 down. She said, stop. And she said, Cheryl, you go. I said, they call me Cheryl. And I said, you why? Because I got to say sexy, very warm high. She said, stop. Angie, you go. The Angie we used the word to say, I got chocolate hips in the Milky Way, and I feel like a million year in space, lying on a go-kart with silver lace. The body calls me never, I'm a freestyle freak. She said, stop. And then she told, I think this guy named Flip that was with the Sugar Hill Gang, go and bring the band. Doug Wimplish, the bass player, Keith LeBlanc was the drummer, and Skip McDonald. And Keith is the funkiest white boy I've ever seen on a set of drums. This dude is amazing. But he played on Funky Walk, and he did an excellent job. So they all came in the room. We started jamming. She said, y'all sing the hook again. And we started singing the hook. And she told Blondie to come in. We went back to the hook. And she told me to come in, back to the hook. Told Angie to come in, back to the hook. And we just started jamming back there. So everybody started running to the back room, running to see what we were doing. And we was having so much fun. And so they were calling for the band, the Cheryl gang, to come on stage. And so they had to rush out and get on stage to do their thing. So we were asking Ms. Robinson, can we go on stage with them? We're not afraid to be out there, She said, y'all not scared or not? Oh, we're going to go, on the stage with them. And she said, okay, go. So we went out and, we were having fun as teenagers do. And when we came off, she said, I'm going to make you girl stars. I'll be singing for you. She said, I'm going to be singing for you next Friday. And we said, oh, my God. She said, you're not playing right. She said, no. Then she asked which one of the members should she call? And we said, call Blondie. Because I was in college at Benedict at the time, and Angie was still in high school. So she called Blondie. And so Blondie gave her the number, and all three of us left out of there screaming and went home and told our parents, she's going to send for us. She said she's going to make her stars. And they were like, who said what? All we knew was Sylvia. I didn't take in Robinson. None of that didn't hit. Pillow Talk didn't hit. It was just this lady Sylvia. She said that she's going to make us stars, and she's going to send for us next Friday. My grandmother said, well, we'll wait and see. I said, please, you got to talk to Mom and let me go, please. So I was begging her and my granddaddy to, talk to her and please talk to her and let me go. She said, well, you're in college. What are you going to do? I said, I'll go to school later. I want to do this now. And so Blondie said, I'm going. I'm 20. I'm going. And so we had to talk Angie, mother and father, into letting her go. And they eventually broke down. She said, well, wait till y'all get the tickets first. Wait till, this is real. And that Thursday came around, and Ms. Robinson called us and told us that our tickets were at the airport, that all we needed to do was show identification, and that Harold would pick us up once we got to the Woodlawn in Jersey. I think it was Newark, New Jersey airport. And so that Friday came, and Angie and the moms, they were still like, I don't know. But they eventually gave in and said, if it don't work out, come home. My grandfather gave me $100. If it don't work out, get on the bus and come home. But we were still, all right, because Angie's aunt lived in Brooklyn, and I had aunts and uncles that lived in East Orange, New Jersey at that time, so if things would have not worked out for us, we had a place to go until we could get back home. So from there, she sent for us. We went in the studio, we recorded, and then the band was there rehearsing before we got there. But when Harold picked us up and he brought us to the studio, she was happy to see us. We were happy to see her. They were playing the music, and she gave each one of us $100 a piece and said, take them to the hotel and drop the clothes off. And then get them something to eat and bring them back. And so it was very cold because it's doing, like October into November. It's very cold up there, at least for us. And so we went, took our bags, took the money she gave us, and went to McDonald's. And went to McDonald's with $100. Then we wanted, a Big Mac, combo or whatever. And people looking at us like we were crazy, like, where they come from? And why they have this type of money on them, these kids,
And especially in the 1970s, like in 1979, $100 was probably a lot of money as well.
Yes, it was a lot of money, and then we three young black girls coming up here in the McDonald's talking about we want this, but it ain't but no more than $4 or $5. And so it's like, okay, that's how we're going to cash our money and be able to spend our money. You know, like we want to spend it. So break it down, cash it. You got to do it. So they did it, and they looked at us and we were laughing and they were laughing. And we went back to the studio and started to got there. Ms. Robinson, they were ready for us to go in. So after we finished reading, then we went in the studio and started rehearsing. And then we shut the microphones up, so we started rehearsing. And then Ms. Robinson liked to catch people like off. She'll like so we listen to the music. Y'all just sing along as y'all go along or whatever. And so we know how the song, you know, is going. And we started to singing and really get into it. And everybody in the studio that was watching us, they was like, hey, it's funky, it's bad. And they bopping their head, and we could see them bopping their heads as we doing what we're doing. And so she's, you know, at the end of the tape, I think we stopped one time. She said, no, don't ever stop. Like you did with Michael Jackson, don't ever stop. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't ever just stop. So we got back on, we finished it out, and then she went back to the top and told us to come out and listen. And we didn't realize that we were recording at the time, and we just heard ourselves, and it was like, oh my God, because we never went in the studio before. We never actually took it to the next level, but we knew that was something we wanted to do. And so to hear ourselves coming out of the headphones and these big speakers they got in, it was like, oh my God. And so she said, you know, what we're going to do, we're going to tighten up a few things. And then she did that. We did that. And she kind of like got a mix on the board and told the engineer, not to touch anything, that leave the board just the way it is until tomorrow, which it was already tomorrow because when we came out, the sun was up. It was like 11, 12 o'clock in the afternoon. And we had been in there all night and didn't even realize it because we were having so much fun. So we went to our hotel. We got some rest. She got some rest, but she got back to the studio before we did. And she was playing around with that mixing board and the things that she wanted, you know, the engineer to do for her, which it was sounding perfect. And she said we have to put hand claps on. So they got machines for that. Now, back then, you had to stand there to be about 8 or 9 of us, and we're standing under the mic, and we're clapping our hands to the beat, you know, and I'm like, why are we doing this for? We're going to mess something up. But we wasn't messing up. It was better. It was making it better. Every time we heard it, it was just getting better and better until she was satisfied with it. And then she mixed it, mastered it. They sent the masters back. She sent it to Frankie Crocker in New York at WBLS, Mr. Frankie Crocker, and she sent it to Mr. Magic. They were the two DJs that were playing hip-hop music at that time. I wasn't afraid to break records, you know. And so we went to Mr. Magic, and we went to Frankie Crocker, Mr. Crocker first, and we met him, found out his birthday was December 18th, and he interviewed us, he played the music, and we had fun up there with him while we were there, and then we left from him, and I think Harold took us to Mr. Magic. We hit both of those stations at that same night. We saw Mr. Magic, and met Jaleel. He was an intern for Mr. Magic, Jaleel from Houdini. He was an intern helping Magic at the time, but he was learning the ropes. And we did the interview with Mr. Magic, And then we got back to Jersey and told Miss Robinson we wanted to go home. So by my birthday, we were back home. And we heard the record on the radio on my birthday. They called, turn radio on, it's on radio. And so we were excited about that. And then by the time Angie's birthday came, December the 18th, she turned 18 and turned 19, one was 20 on these dates. She called for us to go and finish up a tour that the Sugar Hill Band was doing, and we met them in Charleston, South Carolina. We did a show with them that night, and I think they paid us like $500 for like 10 minutes or something like that. And, oh my God. You know, and so as we were doing show after show after show, the money was nice for us during that time because I could send money back home, help my family out. You know, my grandmother said, if you're doing better than we do, you know what to do. Yes, ma'am. So I would always send half of whatever I was getting back to my grandmother or my mother. And, but the shows kept going. So we were with them, Florida, Texas, California. I mean, everywhere they went, we went. And then when we got back off of the road, because we would come off for 2 or 3 days and go back out, and they were basically all auditorium coliseums that we were doing with them. So when we got back, she was telling me about she wanted me to be her A&R person. And I said, well, what is that? She said, I want you to listen to the tapes that they're coming to you and put you in the office up there. And you just listen to that music. And if you hear something kidding, you let me know. And I said, okay. And then I said, well, you know, why you want me to do that? I just listen something like this. She said, because you got a good ear for music. And I think you'd be good in that position. I said, okay. So I fixed the office up and the mailroom had so many bags, I could never get through all of those bags, but I did the best that I could. She called me like 3 o'clock in the morning and asked me to come to her house. That her nephew, Earl Johnson, was going to come pick me up. And so Earl came and picked me up. I went there and she played this cassette that had the Series 5, the Funky 4, Crash Through, Treacherous Street, Busy Bee. I can't think of anybody else, but all of them was on the same cassette. And I had heard it in a limousine. We were riding, we were at her niece Donna's house, and we were in a limousine riding around New York. And we heard it in that limousine. So when Ms. Robinson played it for me, I'm like, okay, that's them. I said, I said I heard them before. I heard them in a limousine that Donna had for us. And she said, well, Earl knows them personally. And she said, I want you to listen to their music and tell me what you think. So we in there, and she dancing and laughing and joking, and she cooking food, and I'm sitting in there, and I'm like, yo, they hot and blah. She said, what do you think I ought to do with them? I said, you should sign them. I said, if I was you, I would sign all of them. And she said, yeah. I said, yes, ma'am, because that way you corner the market. Ain't too many people out there, as I've been seeing by us being out on the road, and too many people doing what we're doing right now. I said, and they're good at what they're doing. On top of all of it is different. Everybody got a different approach to the way that they're presenting themselves. And so she said, okay, Cheryl, she said, she told me once before, I only wanted the Sugar Hill Gang in the sequence. And then she changed her mind, and she allowed these other groups to come into her company in a group by the name Mean Machine. Mean Machine, Wayne and Charles were the other half of the roster she had. Then after that, she wouldn't accept anybody else into her pumping, doing the rap stuff, you know?
And the one thing I have to ask you as well, Cheryl, because you know a lot of people might not know this about you, but you are actually, well, yourself and Sequence are actually the ones that really started hip hop for females. I have to ask you, like, how does it feel to know that you are the pioneer that opened the doors for all other female hip hop artists around the world?
It's an amazing feeling. I'm glad that we were, God chose us to be the first three to step across the planet. I think we represented hip hop in a respectable way. People, we have the utmost respect for our group. And I'm just glad that we were in that place at that time. You know, there's two different histories. I tell people there's the history of the Bronx, New York, Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island. All of those cultures up there, all of those states had their own different form of rap and different people coming out of different areas. So, but we were blinded to that because we were from down south and we had no knowledge of it whatsoever. All we know is the Shit Hill Gang. We had heard King Tim the Third with Fatback, a Fatback band with King Tim the Third. Before that, and I personally am a P-Funk fan, so I heard, good evening, do not attempt to adjust your radio, for there is nothing wrong with it. We have taken control of the bring this special show. Welcome to the station WEFUNK. We funk, y'all, are deeper still the mothership connection. That's where I got it from.
And I'm gonna be honest with you as well. Speaking of Funk You Up, after our interview this evening, I'm actually gonna be playing that on the radio station right here on 97.7, and I want to let you know that that's been playing since I first started my radio station. So even after 30, 40 plus years later, your song Funk You Up is still spinning on the radio station airwaves.
That's amazing. That is amazing. That goes to show that we put in work. You know what I'm saying? We put in work for this thing. I mean, they told us it was going to be 5 years and it would be over with. And here it is 40-some odd years later, and it's still, doing its thing. So that's amazing in itself,
And speaking of when we're still on the topic of Funk You Up, I also noticed that in '95, Dr. Dre actually used elements of that song for his single "Keep Their Heads Ringing." I have to ask you, how does it feel knowing that Dr. Dre used elements of your single in one of his biggest songs of all time?
That's amazing too. It's a great feeling. I hope one day I don't know him personally. I never had the opportunity to meet him. I would like to one day meet him and thank him for what he did. He liked Funk You Up. They liked the funk out there in California. So when we were coming real funky with it, and they, probably loved our music, and he decided to recut it with Keep the Heads Ringing, and he made it funky too. He did his thing on there, but they used some of our lyrics. Hey, you don't sit no there. Better get up out of your chair. Don't work your body down. No time. Funk right. And he said, cause we gon' funk you. So people that know our music, they know, that came from Funk You Up. And also the other kids, I can't think of his name right now. I'm bad with names. This did Uptown Funk.
Oh, Bruno Mars.
Yeah. Yes. They thanked us, on Twitter and in one of the magazines or something, that they didn't give us the proper credit that was due to us for that record. And so we had a hard time dealing with them and the people that represent them about, they using our stuff. It's only Uptown Funk You Up. There's only one record in the planet called Funk You Up. So you touched our stuff, but then they wouldn't pay.
And honestly, I gotta say though, that's not right, because if they are because they're using your stuff, and I look at it as the music industry has some good people and has some really bad people, but I think if they're gonna use people's mottos, use people's names, use people's music. They should give the proper recognition where recognition is due, because if it wasn't for you guys, Funk You Up wouldn't have even been a thing. So they always have to respect the individuals that came before them.
Right, but the business is so messed up at this point that everybody gets paid for the sequence music, but the sequence. And when those checks come, it does not add up to what today's world, what it is. I speak to a lot of DJs, and they all say this is playing this stuff, Cheryl, so they control our music, and they won't turn it back over to us.
And especially in this day and age, we have with the streaming and whatnot. Like you get I think it's not even a half a penny or even less just for a stream. That's why I actually personally boycott streaming, Spotify and stuff like that. I still buy CDs and whatnot today because I know artists like yourselves, you receive more money from actual sales than streams.
Yeah, thank you. I said we sold a record for $2.99, $3.99 back then. Now you're gonna tell us to sell a record for 16 cents a stream, or 8 cents, or a half a penny a stream? That don't make sense to me. That's not gonna work for me. I put my music out there and I tried it, and the results are, I'm not liking what I'm doing, what I'm the numbers that they're talking about. So I decided not to sell my music on any of their platforms. I'll put it on my website and sell it from my website. Before I do that, I'm not doing that no more.
I also heard a lot of artists are doing that today as well, like just selling it from their personal website. That way they can earn all their money themselves, and it's the best way to do it as well. It's kind of like being your own distribution manager.
There you go. And if you got to push it anywhere, if you got to push your music and get your music to these DJs and platforms and stuff like that, then they should not be asking you for nothing. And I don't like it. It's not in our favor as artists, as any artist that's going into this industry or have their music into this industry. They are still robbing people. Worse than what the Robinsons did, they're robbing you. And I can't do it. I just can't do it. I told them, fool me once, that's it. Can't do that to me no more. I don't care nothing about your platform. I have to build my own,
And also, in 96, I saw via Discogs, and I know sometimes Discogs isn't always the best place to actually get your information, but I noticed via Discogs that you actually have writing credits on Sir Mix-a-Lot's single Jump On It. I was wondering, how did yourself and Sir Mix-a-Lot get connected, and of course, what was it like working with him?
Let me tell you something. You know something, and you just told me something I didn't know. I don't have any income coming from none of that. You understand? I don't know. It's like 40, 50-something derivatives out there of different people who have used our music that I've never seen it come down my BMI royalty things, and we don't, the Warner music. Well, I don't see that. I don't see that, that somebody else has used our music.
And I do want to say as well, though, Cheryl, Cheryl as well, that sometimes Discogs isn't always the best. In my opinion, it's kind of like the Wikipedia of the music industry, so anybody can go in there and edit it. Like for instance, I could go on there and edit that Dr. Dre did work with, that wrote a song for the Wu-Tang or something, like, for instance, right? So anybody can edit it. That's why you find some really cool stuff on there, but sometimes it's not always the best information to ask. So that's why I want to let you know that it might not be true, but hey, it's a good question. If it would have been a good question if it was real.
Sure. I mean, like I say, you may know something I don't know. If my nieces and nephews don't come and say, Auntie, we heard this, that, well, you so did one of your music, one of your songs, so they come in here, they're kids, they come and tell me what they hear, But
and sometimes it's always good to ask the source as well. You know what I mean? That way, other people that actually just say, "Oh, hey, Cheryl worked with Sir Mix-a-Lot," then it could be like, "No, we heard Outlaw Radio's interview, and he already asked that." So it's always good just to bring that out there, just for the public to hear.
Right. Yeah, thank you for telling me. Like, I have to pull it up and see for myself now, but I didn't know.
And also, you're the CEO of Black Bottom Entertainment. I was wondering if you could tell us a bit more about that company, and of course, like, what made you decide to start Black Bottom?
Because I didn't want to put my music out up under anybody else's label. I didn't want people to tell me how to do what I know how to do. So I decided to create my own label, and I have different styles of genres of music that'll come from Black Bottom, from reggae to rock and roll to country to whatever style music that people send me if I like it and it's good for my label and they represent themselves well, I will work with it. So really to have a different outlet so that I can teach, if they're young, I can kind of teach them how to walk through this thing and on their own. I don't know, people are going to stay with you forever, but the ones that do come through get a better visual of how this game works and how this game could be good for you one minute and bad for you another. So to teach each one, teach one. And like I said, I love all styles of music, so that's why I created the company. But it might not just be for music; it might be for comedy and other forms of entertainment. It's according to how I'm feeling as I go along the way and what life brings to me that say, well, we can do this also. So it's entertainment, period.
And also, I noticed as well that the sequence was actually featured on the Wendy Williams show. I have to ask you, what was it like just taking part in her show? Because I know that's like a really, really huge daytime program.
That when we were on, when Wendy put our picture up, it was the next day after the VH1 did an honor for females, and we decided not. They flew us in. We went there to where they were holding this big thing at, and they kind of like put us across from Queen Latifah and all of the other females. So we sat and we watched the show, and then we were very disappointed. We got up, we walked out. As we were walking out, they were sending someone to come get us to take us backstage for the grand finale, and we were like, nah, we're not doing that. We're going to leave. So we left. And so just the next morning, the next day, I think, when he had it up as, a part of her news. We never got to go and sit on her couch and talk with her. She just put the picture up. And then we're talking about it.
And I do know sometimes, like, I know with her show, there's some controversial stuff. Like, sometimes people really don't like being on her show. If you don't mind me asking, like, what made you guys actually decide to walk out? Was it just because of, like, how they were, like, talking about, like, other female artists?
No, but everyone wants to start hip-hop where they want to start it at. It didn't start with Queen Latifah. It didn't start with Salt and Pepper. It didn't start with any of them. MC Light, none of them. It started with the sequence.
And that's that's most definitely true.
Bronx was Shah Rock. Shah Rock was with the Funky Four. So the only four females that, I can honestly give that credit to back then was the four of us.
And I'm going to be honest with you though, like that is highly disrespectful as well. If they know you're there and they start talking about these people first, like don't get me wrong, those artists are talented ladies, but they got to remember, like I mentioned earlier in the interview, they got to remember who came first.
There you go. There you go. It's a track line with this thing. It's the frontliners, and then everything after the frontliners. Now, before the frontliners were the groundbreakers from the Bronx and the New York area. Then once they hit wax, it was another thing. You know what I'm saying? We're the ones that plant the seeds for everybody to be able to go through there. Should be a thing in the sequence. Are the ones who planted that seed that united and ignited all over the world. You see what I'm saying? So after that, I think the the third hip hop record, or fourth hip hop record, it was P Funk for me, um, Fatback, King Tim the Third, Sugar Hill Gang, Sequence, Curtis Blow. Then those were records that came out in '79, and the Christmas rap and the Funk You Up, and I think Rappers Like came out just a little bit before the winter came in. So these were the records, the summer from the summer down, the records that actually uh, build the foundation, I put it like that.
And also, coming February of 2021, you will actually be featured on the Face of Icon magazine. I have to ask you, how does it feel after, like, 40 plus years of just, doing music and whatnot, you actually being still topping magazine covers? And of course, where can our listeners snag themselves a copy so they can actually, uh, frame it, get themselves a copy?
Right. I have to talk back to her name is T. She did the interview and everything, and she got me on this magazine. And I'm going to ask her how can they get a copy, and I can post it on my pages so that people can see. I really didn't think to ask her where can they get it from. I don't know, everything is online now, so but the only thing I can do is get the information and give it to you, and y'all can help me get it out there.
Hey, most definitely, and then it does always doesn't hurt to ask as well, because there's even with 2020 and the internet, some things are even really hard to find on the net as well, because there's just so much information to digest out there. It's actually, I'm still learning the internet myself, for goodness sake.
I hear you.
But I gotta ask you, Cheryl, like, other than the magazine that's coming out and whatnot, like, what's next for Cheryl the Pearl? Like, are you and Sequence still doing some music? Any new music that you guys are working on? Because I know you ladies stay very busy.
Yes, I would say yes. Just look out for us. You know, we're working on some things. We're talking about some different things that we're going to be doing once this virus is over. They calm it down. COVID is stopping a lot of stuff, but we talk on a daily or every other day basis about doing new things.
And also, so Cheryl, this is the time in the interview that I give a chance for the individual that comes on the radio station. Just a chance to give shoutouts to whomever they want to give shoutouts to. And of course, your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you and just stay updated on everything Cheryl the Pearl and Sequence if they're not already doing so.
Okay. Well, I'm with also Wake Up Movement, globalwakeupmovement.com, where it's an organization that's going to be helping to feed people, helping to back organizations that's pushing for people's rights, and helping not just here in the United States, but across the planet, wherever we can help somebody at. With food, with medicine, with whatever is needed in the areas, and probably help to try to build a better place for us all. That's the point of it, is to try to make it right for everybody, not just for some people, but for all people to be able to live comfortable on this earth. So that is one of the movements, and that's Global Wake Up Movement. That we'll be working with. I'm on Twitter as Cheryl Pearl 1. I'm on Instagram as the original Cheryl Pearl. On Facebook is Cheryl Cook. And on LinkedIn is Cheryl Pearl. So they'll be able to find me in those places. My website will still working on, so that'll be in place very soon. People will be able to come to Black Bottom and be able to download their music, our new music from there. From our old fans to the new fans to, whoever believes in good music. That's what we're going to be putting out, is good music.
And I have to say, first and foremost, Cheryl, thank you so much for just giving us some of your time this evening and coming on the radio station. And I have to say as well, thank you for paving the way for so many talented individuals like yourself. You know, if it wasn't for if it wasn't for you, who knows where hip hop would be today. So just thank you for everything that you did for the culture.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad to be in that place at that time. It was amazing. It was an amazing ride, you know.
Most definitely. I gotta say, Cheryl, thank you so much again, and most definitely have yourself a wonderful night, and most definitely stay safe out there in Carolina. And also, happy holidays to you and yours as well.
Same to you. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, okay? You and all the fans out there and all of the people that listen to your radio station. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Have yourself a wonderful night.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, that was the one, the only hip-hop pioneer, Cheryl, the Pearl of Sequence. I gotta say, that was a good interview. I'm not gonna lie, though, she gave a really long story about how Sequence started, but I love those stories, guys. I really do, because, you see, I look at myself as a little bit of a hip-hop historian. That's what I want to be. I want to be able to interview these pioneers while they're still here, give them their flowers and, make sure their stories live on forever. So I'm really glad that we had the opportunity just to talk with, an individual that paved the way for legit every single female hip hop artist from then all the way up until now. So shout out to Cheryl, Pearl, and everybody that was involved, and also all the other females of Sequence as well, Angie and Blondie as well. But guys, right here, right now, like I mentioned during the interview, we're gonna get into some Sequence, and here it is, the song that started it all, Funk You Up, right here on 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM, Canada's #1 uncensored award-winning hip-hop radio station, CKOR-DB. Let's go. Funk You Up. Sequence. Let's get it.